Bandit Queen is the barometer against which any movie made about Chambal is going to be compared with. So how does Sonchiriya compare? If you have not watched this movie and you don't want any spoilers, then stop watching now because there will be a lot of them in this review. If you've watched Bandit Queen or Pan Singh Tomar and any other movies about Chambal, then you know the familiar surroundings, you know the cast equations, you know the whole setup in which this story will be based. Bandit Queen was very raw, very in your face, and a very uncomfortable watch. So any movie that will be made about Chambal will inevitably be compared with Bandit Queen. So I think the writers and the director has taken a wise choice to move away from the whole macro view of the politics and the social issues. The cast is made up of very fine actors. So it's very good to see Manoj Bajpayee, Ashutosh, Rana, Ranveer Shori, all of them doing a role which has a bit of a meat to it. There is potential for them to act and showcase their talent. Sushant Singh Rajput does a decent job, but the most impressive out of everyone was Bhumi Pednekar. She picks up a very powerful role and essays it with ease. The story starts off with Manoj Bajpayee's gang falling into an ambush. Some of them are killed and the ones who survive are scattered. So far, so predictable. But layer by layer, more is revealed and the writer chooses to focus on two key threads of the story. So one is the incident that has already happened and affected Manoj Bajpayee and Sushant Singh Rajput. And then the next one, which is where the story flows, where Bhumi Pednekar comes out with a little girl that she is trying to save. And this is what marks it out as different from any other run-of-the-mill story based in Chambal. I think this was a very clever choice by the director and the writer, where they are letting everything play out in the background, all the caste equations or the police versus the dacoits, how the dacoits are down on their luck and will ultimately inevitably be run down by the police. And while all the familiar tropes are at play, these two key incidents and the writers and the director's choice to focus on these two incidents is what marks this movie as different from any other Chambal-based movie. The casting is top class. There could not have been a better choice to play Man Singh, which is played by Manoj Bajpayee.
सरकारी गोली से कोई कबू मरे इनके तो वादन से मरे सब बहनों भाइयों.
And Ashutosh Rana, the relentless cop who is chasing after these dacoits.
तुम इसे अपना निजी मामला तो नहीं बना रहे हो ना?
कत्तई नहीं.
But it's not just surface level police versus robbers chase. There is a deeper story behind it, and that's where the first key incident is revealed and how it affects the gang and how it plays out in terms of everything that follows. How it affects the gang, how it affects Manoj Bajpayee and his decision to walk into the ambush although he knew about it. The filming of that particular incident, although it's a very small part of the whole movie, is one of the best ever that I have seen. From start to finish, the whole sequence is shot masterfully. There is not a lot of violence that is shown. I don't think that would have made this sequence any special. A lot is left to the viewer's imagination, but you are not left in any doubt as to the significance of this event. The reaction of Manoj Bajpayee to what he has done, that's the true hallmark of a great actor. He makes you feel his pain and his regret. Sushant Singh Rajput, although he makes a good effort, I don't think he can compare to Manoj Bajpayee's handling of that particular scene. This was the choice which stops this movie from being a masterpiece like Bandit Queen. There's quite a lot on Sushant Singh Rajput and Bhumi Pednekar, who does a really good role. And as earnest as Sushant Singh Rajput's performance was, I don't think he can compare to how well Manoj Bajpayee did his small role. I think if that was explored a little bit more, this movie could have easily been classed as one of the masterpieces to come out. Sushant Singh Rajput makes an earnest effort and he does what he has been told to do really well. I don't think his character is as complex, as layered as Manoj Bajpayee's was. And that's where the movie stumbles a little bit. The whole feel of the movie is very rustic, very dusty. The cinematography is exactly what was needed for this kind of a movie. The action sequences are very well choreographed. They seem very well thought out. They seem very real. There is no over-the-top flourishes in the movie. That would have been completely at odds with how the rest of the movie has been shot. So I'm glad they didn't go down that route. There were a couple of other sequences which display an understanding of the background in which this story is happening. When Bhumi Pednekar comes onto the screen for the first time and is surrounded by the leftovers of Manoj Bajpayee's gang. How she covers up her face before pointing the gun. And then towards the end, this sequence between what is clearly a character inspired from Phulan Devi, called Phulya in this movie, and between Bhumi Pednekar about the caste system and where the women fit into that. These two sequences display an understanding of the background in which this story is taking place, and that can be seen throughout this movie. There is an understanding and appreciation of the social context in which this movie is happening, and you're never too far away from that. Also, the sequence where Ashutosh Rana does not hesitate from beating up the priest, which the policemen of a different caste within his own party do not appreciate, and that leads to his ultimate demise. All of these pieces of the jigsaw, they are all at play, and you're never too far away from the equations at play constantly, and how one cause can lead to an effect, like Ashutosh Rana's death towards the end. I did warn you there will be a lot of spoilers in this review. So overall, I think this was a very good effort. The trailer did not do a very good job of selling it to me, and that's why it took a long time for me to come around to watching this movie. The trailer made it seem like the usual cops versus robbers and this internal split between the robbers, but it is a lot more than that. It is a lot more about the sense of morality within the dacoits.
पर ये बात परिवार की है,
बात इंसाफ की है.
What do they consider their sense of duty, the hardships that they face? It's not the usual story about how these dacoits came to be, what happened that made them choose this life, but it tells you what happens afterwards at the end. The movie was much more complex, much more layered than the trailer led me to believe. It has a lot of things going for it: good performances, good storyline, good cinematography. The technical aspects of the movie are really good, but in my view, it chose to focus on the story of Bhumi Pednekar and Sushant Singh Rajput, whereas in my view, Manoj Bajpayee's character and his backstory and his actions had a lot more weight to them, and I think that would have been a much more interesting story to explore and showcase in this movie. It's not made with the intention of being a run-of-the-mill Bollywood potboiler, but I don't think they pushed it as much as they could have, so now it ends up in the middle ground of a typical Bollywood blockbuster or an artish kind of movie that Bandit Queen was. One word of warning: if you're planning to watch this movie, the dialect that is used is Bundelkhandi, and it can be quite hard to follow. So if you do end up watching this movie, turn on the subtitles, otherwise you will miss a few things, and it'll be hard to understand why characters are behaving in a certain way, what is their motivation, and that might end up spoiling your experience a little bit. So in the end, should you watch this movie? I would say definitely you should watch it. It's a very layered, complex story. It's acted out really well. Technically, the movie is very well made. It falls just short of becoming a masterpiece because of a couple of choices that the director made. But nonetheless, it's a great watch. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you will too. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends and family.